Okay, so again, we went to agent.kw.com. That will get you into command. At the top, it appears as console.command.kw.com, but agent.kw.com works just fine. It's going to be the same username and password that you use for your mykw.kw.com. So that same username and password. It's not an email address. And it will take you to this home screen here. We are going to be going over an entire transaction process. We are going to do a listing transaction today, and I will show you guys how to enter your forms and all the way through submitting commission. So first we're going to start by adding a contact. So we are going to click on this red KW in the top left-hand corner, and it will expand our menu, and we can see we are on contacts now. So in a transaction in command, you do want to be sure to add your contacts first to your database so that you can not have to go back and do that during your transaction. Your transaction can only find contacts that you have loaded. You can't add a new one within the transaction. So you do want to start here. So in the top right-hand corner, you can see add contact. I'm going to go ahead and create a test contact for today just so you guys can see that. And we are going to use Joe Smith as our contact today. And I'm going to use a random email for him that I have. Let's see.
No, I'm not here.
We'll try this one. Hopefully I haven't used it before. But the only thing required in a command contact is the name. You don't have to have an email or phone number, but obviously that helps to send documents. So we're going to go ahead and leave that there. When you scroll down to the bottom, you can enter in as much information as you have, but I'm going to just leave it with the email today, and I'm going to click create. Already used that email. Let's see. Okay, looks like that worked. So I created my contact that I need for my transaction. I'm just going to go ahead and search for my contact up here that I just created. And this is something that I've noticed has been an issue in command, at least for the past week. I've added a new contact, but then I can't find it. But if you do go to the opportunity, I was able to find it there, so we'll just do that instead. So again, I'm clicking on the red KW box in the top left-hand corner, and I'm clicking on opportunities. Opportunities is where all of your transactions will be. Think of it as an opportunity for you to get paid and to help a client. So when you get into opportunities, it looks like this. And on this screen, you can see I have my listing opportunities, buyers, and leases. So those are the three types of transactions that command can currently recognize. Referrals are a little bit difficult to do on here, but I am going to do a video on how to complete one. But we are going to do a listing opportunity today. So you have this view here. If you're on a team, you'll see your team as a separate tab here, and then you'll also have your name. If you are on a team, be sure to do all of your transactions under that team tab. So if you're on the Griffin Group or Paramount Home Group, any of the teams in the office, be sure that you're doing all of your transactions under that team tab. If you are not on a team, you only will see your name, and you'll do your transactions under there. A different way to look at your transactions would be to click on all opportunities, and you can see them in a list view. You can see I have quite a few test opportunities in here, but that's just another way to look at them. So whenever you are under either yourself or if you're on a team, under your team tab, you will click on create opportunity. So once you click on create opportunity, you'll see this pop-up window. Do make sure that your pop-ups are enabled. That could be a issue if you're not seeing this. Also, if you're not working in Google Chrome, you may have issues now or later, so please be sure that you're working through Google Chrome. But we are going to go ahead and fill out this pop-up window. So it wants us to create our opportunity. We are in the new Tampa Market Center. If you're on a team, be sure that your team is selected here. The opportunity type, today we're going to do a listing. The owner is the owner of the opportunity, which is me, or it should be you. Unless you're on a team, it may be the rainmaker on your team, which is completely fine. Your client, this is where you'll type in your client's name. And again, you do want to make sure you add your client as a contact first, because you cannot create a contact here. You are only able to search by typing in your client's name. If there are 2 buyers or 2 sellers, you can add a co-seller or co-buyer here. I'm only going to use one today. The opportunity name is very important. We are going to leave that listing at the end there, or if you were doing a buyer, you would leave buyer at the end. We are not going to use our client's name as the opportunity name. This is similar to a loop name if you're familiar with .loop. Otherwise, just know that your opportunity name needs to be your full address. So the property I'm going to use today is a property that I just listed for sale this morning. Feel free to use this as an example if you want to. And it does need to be the full property address, including city, state, and zip code, with a listing at the end. You can either do dash listing or put listing in parentheses. Just please indicate what type of transaction it is for Gina to see. If it's a rental, you can put that at the end. But this is how she will be searching for your property. So if you need help or you were looking for the DA, anything like that, this is how they will search for the property. And then please indicate the type of transaction. That's how they'll search for the transaction, and please indicate the transaction type. We aren't going to use any custom tags today. The estimated close date, you don't have to put anything. There's no red asterisk here. But if you want to put something, you can. You do have the option to go back and add a name, and I'll show you how to do that. Same thing, if you were doing a buyer transaction, you might not have the property address yet. You might only be creating the opportunity for your buyer to add the buyer disclosure. So you might not have a property yet, and I'll show you how to edit that as well. The estimated close date, I'm not going to add one just because I am not sure. The estimated list price, I'm going to put the actual list price here. The commission rate was a full 3%. This is your commission. It's not both sides of the commission. I know that's a little bit confusing if you're doing a listing, but it is only your commission no matter which side of the transaction it is. The phase is where you're at in that transaction. So I'm going to put that it's active because it is on the MLS. I'm sorry, the phase, and then the stage is within that phase where you are at. So I will put that we are at showings. Any questions about creating the opportunity? I'm going to hit create down here at the bottom, and it's going to redirect to a new screen. And this is what it looks like within your transaction. So at the top here, we have our opportunity name. You can see it's the full address with listing at the end. My client is here, Joe Smith. If I click on his name, I can see his contact info here. And I also can go to contacts from here. You will only see this select from listings if you are doing a listing transaction. If you are doing a buyer transaction, you will not have this button here. But I am going to go ahead and select this from listings. And this is actually selecting from KWLS. So if your listing is not entered into the MLS, you will not see it here. I do believe this is required for it to close. So I don't believe you can currently do a transaction if your listing is not in MLS. So if that becomes an issue, please let me know. So I'm going to click on this select from listings. You can search by street address or MLS number. I'm just going to search by street address. I'm going to search all statuses and all listings. Sometimes if you only have it showing your listings, it still might not show up. So I'm going to type in the property address here. might not show up because I just now put it in. Yeah, it's only coming up with the one for rent. So I'll just select this one for now. I just submitted it this morning, so it just hasn't updated yet. So it does take a little bit for it to update. At the top, you can see that you are in an active listing transaction. You have your details, seller profile, documents, offers, commissions, notes, and timeline. Under the details tab, this is where you will add another seller or buyer in the into the opportunity if you need to, by clicking on this pencil icon in the general information box. So I'm going to go ahead and click here. This is also where you will update the opportunity name if you are doing a buyer transaction. In the buyer transaction, you do not have to change the opportunity name to create the opportunity, but please be sure that once you have a contract for a property that you come back and change this to be the correct property address. So that's where you would change that. If you needed to add a co-seller, you could do that here by just adding them to your contacts and then searching your contacts here and adding them. You can then save down at the bottom. And yes, that's how you will update any of the transaction information. So you can see your general information is on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you can see this property box. Since we selected from listings, we can see that the property address is already filled in here. Okay, so if you are doing a buyer transaction, you will need to update your property here. Again, you will just edit this box with the pencil icon. This porch application through KW, it's a repair estimate report. You can add this by going to your settings and adding it as an application, and it will pop up here. Otherwise, you won't have this here. And then the seller worksheet is down at the bottom. You can also edit it with this pencil icon. And if you needed to add a description at the bottom, you can, again, with clicking this pencil icon. If something does happen and you do lose this opportunity, you can click this lost opportunity button in the top right-hand corner, or I guess middle of the right-hand side, and that will archive the opportunity for you, and it will no longer reflect in your gross commission income or anything like that. If Gina's ever asking you for the opportunity ID, it is over here in the left-hand side. This is an O at the front, not a 0, so just keep that in mind. So if you're copying and pasting, send it to her that way. Once there is a DA created, which would be the disbursement authorization ID, disbursement authorization form for your check to be sent to you, and the ID will be here once Gina uploads it. So after we look at the details tab, this seller profile tab, I will just touch base on it because we aren't really using it yet. This is regarding the KW app. So if your your client had been using your KW app, anything that they do related to the same email they have on file in your command will show up here. So if your seller or buyer is not using the app yet, that's totally fine. But if they are, their information will be here. Next is the Documents tab. This is probably the most important tab, and this is where you will submit your documents for compliance. I do want to make it clear that there are no documents within command. You have to add them yourself. There are placeholders if you choose to use placeholders, but again, those are just placeholders. Those are not the actual documents. Templates and signatures will be gathered through DocuSign, which I will show you in just a few minutes. But there are no documents within command until you put them there. So the first thing I want to touch on is this pick checklist type. You either can choose residential, vacant land, or no placeholders. I'll show you very quick the difference between using placeholders and not using placeholders. If the placeholders are confusing for you, I just recommend clicking this no placeholders because I don't want anyone to be confused. So if you choose residential, which is what I would choose for this transaction, you can see that there are names of documents that are most frequently used in a listing transaction. And again, these are the listing documents because we are under the listed folder. So this would be your listing agreement, seller property disclosure, any of your forms that are only signed by the seller so far. Under the under contract folder, that would be your executed documents that you have with a buyer as well. So under contract would be all signature all signed forms, and then the listed folder is just signed by your seller. It basically would be any document you bring with you on a listing appointment. This right here is a placeholder, so what that means is that all you have to do is click on add a file and it will bring in a file for that placeholder. It just means that the file is already named for you, and you're just attaching the actual document. If you choose to not use placeholders, the only difference is that you will have to name the document. And if you use no placeholders, you'll click on add item for each one, and you'll enter the document name, select the document type, and then choose the document. So once I connect DocuSign by clicking the Start a Transaction button, you'll also see DocuSign as a source of documents. It'll make more sense once we actually use some documents. So I'll show you both ways. I'll just have to use DocuSign first. So to get to DocuSign, you can click on Start a Transaction. Another way to get to DocuSign would be to go to the web address rooms.docusign.com, I believe. And if your DocuSign is doing this also, I just have to log out and log back in. It's kind of a common thing, I guess. It happens to me every time, but not that anyone else has experienced as far as I know. Okay, in placeholder, if some document you don't need, you cannot delete any of the placeholders. So some people have decided to not use placeholders because they don't want any of the empty placeholders. So they will just add in the forms they need, and that will be it. And I'll show you both ways. Let's see if it will let me get there now. So again, this would be how you access your transaction after you create it. Click on the red KW top left-hand corner. We're going to go to Opportunities. And to quickly find that opportunity I was just using, I'm going to click on All Opportunities so I can see it in a list view. And I'm going to look for my transaction, and it is this one here. And I was in the Documents tab, and it created a room for me because now it says Go to Transaction instead of Start a Transaction. So now, maybe it'll let me actually go to DocuSign. Okay, it looks like it did. So again, if you just wanted to log into DocuSign, you can go to rooms.docusign.com, and that will be how you just get directly to DocuSign without having to go through command. So one thing I want to point out about DocuSign, it does have your opportunity name here at the top. It should be the same. That's the same as your room name. So for each opportunity, your opportunity is a transaction, and for each transaction, you will have an opportunity and a room that work together hand in hand. If you don't need e-signatures or the templates, then you will not need to use DocuSign. You do always have to use command because you have to submit your compliance and your commissions through command. We'll cover both of those today, but I just want to make that clear. So the first thing you would want to do in DocuSign is to go under the Details tab and fill out as much information as you can, because this Details tab in DocuSign is what will autofill your documents. So all I have to do is click on this Edit button up here in the top right-hand corner, and now I can type in inside all of my fields here. So all I'm going to do today is type in the address, just so you guys can see. This would be the same as the details section in Dotloop. If you're familiar with Dotloop, this is the same thing, this details tab. So once I fill out as much information as I want to, I can click on Save down here in the right-hand corner. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's a little annoying for me. Okay. You'll click on Save in the bottom right-hand corner, and you can see this room has been updated. So obviously you would fill out a lot more information here once you get a contract, and even to fill out your listing agreement. Yeah, this has all the offer details and anything like that. It's really helpful if you are a buyer's agent, and it will fill out quite a bit of information for you when you are writing up an offer. Next, we're going to go into the Documents tab. This is where we can actually use our templates. Our templates come from Florida Association of Realtors, and that is how that is who decided which fields would be interactive. So if there's anything that you're irritated about that you can't click on or anything, just know that that's not something we can update on a market center level. It will have to go through Florida Association of Realtors. So there are quite a bit of workarounds for things that you might find irritating, but for the most part, this is very simple. I did a listing agreement or listing packet this weekend and had no issue doing it through DocuSign. So to find our templates, we're going to click on Add in the top right-hand corner. Once you click on it, you do get a few options. For the interactive forms that you can type within, you are going to want to use DocuSign forms. If you're pulling a form from your computer, you'll click on this one. The rest of them are not really necessary unless you typically use forms from that source. So we're going to click on DocuSign forms. If this is your first time clicking on DocuSign forms, you may have a pop-up that says it's asking for your NRDS number and your association. So go ahead and type in your MLS number, and then you will enter your, you'll find Florida Association of Realtors. And for some reason, my computer sometimes doesn't like DocuSign, so if you're having the same issues, please let me know. But sometimes when I click on DocuSign forms, I don't get a pop-up window. Okay, so after a while, I guess it does pop up. So just to tell you the difference between these library and group, in the top drop down, the library is all of the forms. The groups have been already created for you based on the type of transaction. So if you look at library, you can see that there are the FAR forms, our Market Center forms, and the MLS forms. Within groups, you can see that the forms in those three libraries are already grouped by the type of transaction that they apply to. So we are going to do listing residential today. And for today, I am just going to choose my seller disclosure. And I'll show you seller property disclosure too, because there's typically quite a few issues with that one. So I'm going to go ahead and click add. Obviously, you would want to add in as many forms as you're going to need for your listing appointment, since we are doing a listing transaction right now. So then you'll see your forms pop up here. When you click on the form, you should see some of the information filled in depending on how many details you filled out in the Details tab. So whenever you open the document, you can see I didn't add my seller's name, so I'm going to go ahead and type that in. I think that's the seller I used. I'm not quite sure. But you can see that my property address auto-filled. The reason I wanted to pull up the KW seller disclosure is because I do want you to understand that your Market Center fee is going right here. You do have to add it yourself. Right now, the Market Center is charging you $195 per transaction for your first 10 transactions in a calendar year, I believe. I could be wrong. It could be anniversary year. But if anything you charge past $195, you do keep, but it is down to $195 instead of the $295 now. So I usually just charge $195. If you're not charging your clients, you can just put a 0 here. If it's a VA loan or if it's your personal deal, anything like that, or if you're going to pay it, that's totally fine. Otherwise, you'll enter that here. Another thing I want to point out is that you cannot see the seller signatures here, and I will show you when you can see them. It is $195. It changed about a month or two ago, and it is only $195 now. So once you edit any of the fields that you can, and you're done with it, you can hit save and close at the top. So if you are charging $295, just know that you'll keep that extra $100 on that transaction. Yay, an extra $100 of commission. So another thing I want to point out is the seller property disclosure, since our Market Center does require it. You will not be able to edit any of the fields for your seller. So you'll see that you cannot check any of these boxes, and that's how it's supposed to be. The only thing you can edit is the property address at the top, and I will show you where it will be edited by your seller, and I can actually show you when I send it. I'll pull up my email so you can see what it looks like for your seller. So I'm going to hit save and close because the property address is already there. Okay, so after I'm done editing these forms, the next thing I'm going to do is go to envelopes. For the envelopes, that is where you get your e-signatures. You can think of it as literally packing up your documents and sending it to your seller in an envelope. So documents is where you will get your templates. Envelopes is where you get your e-signatures. And those are the two main things that DocuSign is used for. So like I was saying, the documents tab, that's where your templates are. Envelopes is where you'll get e-signatures. Details tab is for filling out or auto-filling your documents. So just keep that in mind. It is not the details tab in Command, it is the details tab in DocuSign. So to get our e-signatures, what we're going to do first is click on New in the top right-hand corner. This is going to create an envelope for us, and we can add as many documents here as we need to. So one thing I would like to point out is the envelope name is only seen by you, but it does help later on if you do send multiple documents, especially to your seller. So you know you're going to be at least sending 2 envelopes. One is going to be for your listing paperwork. The next one would be for for an offer to be accepted. So it does help if you at least put listing documents here. You can put out exactly which forms you're sending if you want, but this is only for you to see. That your clients will not see that. So if you just put listing paperwork, that's totally fine. Down here where it says add documents to the envelope, we specifically added the documents to our room that we wanted to use. So you're going to click on room docs. Otherwise, if you click on use a template, not only will it not already have your information filled out, it also will not have any edits that you made. So you can see the 2 documents that we already pulled in here. I'm going to go ahead and select both of those so I can send them both. And I'm going to hit add selected. You'll see them here. I can view them if I'd like to. I can also remove them if I'd like to using this button or the X at the top. The most important part of envelopes is the recipients. So you do want to make sure that for your recipients, you are doing pre-tagged roles. I just realized that I did not add my seller to my details tab, so this is going to be a little annoying, but it's okay. So make sure you add your clients to the details tab first before you send anything. But under add recipient, to get those signature fields and initial fields already filled in for you and the seller property disclosure boxes able to be checked by your seller, you do need to select pre-tagged roles. That is the only way that those documents will show up. So in the pre-tagged roles box, you will see all of the possible roles that are asked for on that form. I only have 1 seller, so I'm only selecting seller 1. But besides checking that box, you do need to go to this drop down on the right-hand side and select which one it's going to be. So you can see that I don't have an email for him here, so it's probably not going to let me add him, and I'll show you how to go back and do that if it doesn't let me. So I'm going to hit add selected. Oh, okay, it's fine. So I'm going to add in the email that I was using here. So this is how you can see who you're sending it to. The name, the email it's going to, the permissions are over here. So if it needs to sign, needs to view, receives a copy, or just specify recipient, that is over here. So I'm going to make sure it needs to sign. Over here for more, you can add an access authentication, which will allow you to add a passcode to open the envelope for them to sign. It's not necessary, but it is there if your seller would like some more privacy, or maybe they don't trust technology too much, you can do that. You can also add a private message. This is more important if you're sending to multiple people. So say you're sending to two buyers and you want to send them each their own message, you can use this. If you want to send them the same message, you would just do so down here. You can change your email subject or the email message here. Another feature that I would like to point out about DocuSign, which I think is really great, is that if you have 2 sellers here, then you can change the number here to show the order that you would like them to receive it. So if seller 2 does not want to sign until seller 1 signs, seller 1 can have a number 1 here, and seller 2 would have a number 2. If there's any questions about that, let me know. But otherwise, they default to all show 1s so that everyone receives it at the same time. Another thing that DocuSign does that I really like is they do automatically send a copy to all recipients once everyone has signed. So once seller 1 has signed and seller 2 has signed, if there are 2 sellers, they will both receive a copy automatically. If there is only 1 seller, as soon as they sign, they'll receive another email that says completed. They'll receive a PDF version of each of those documents. So it's really good for your listing agreement because you don't have to worry about getting it back to them in a timely manner. Copy to them, you can just go ahead and it'll automatically send it for you. You don't have to set that up or anything like that. It automatically happens. So once we've added our documents and added our recipients, some actions here at the top, I can either copy this envelope or delete this envelope. I can also view the envelope history. I can save and close the envelope as a draft, or I can hit next, which is where I will see the signatures. So when I hit next, it's going to load. You'll see the documents here to the right, whichever ones you're planning to send. You can click on these drop-down arrows to view all the pages within the document, but it's showing you exactly which documents are sending. You can also see each document has a yellow tab on it, which means that the person highlighted with yellow is who needs to sign or initial that page. You can, if you have multiple buyers or multiple sellers, you can use this drop-down arrow to switch between them. That will change who signs. Each seller or buyer will have their own color, or if you're adding yourself on here to sign the listing agreement, you'll also have your own color. So I believe it goes yellow, then blue, then purple, and then I think there's green after that, but you can switch between them here. Once you select someone, that's who the signature field will go to if you click on an extra signature field. So all you have to do to add any of these fields to the document is click on it. So if I want to add text, just click on the text box and then click again where I want to type. For a text box, you can either double click inside here, or you can enter it on the right hand side where it says add text. To get rid of this box, all I have to do is make sure I'm clicked on it and click delete on the right hand side. If there's more than one person receiving this document, so if there are 2 sellers and you add anything besides a text or initial field, a signature or initial field, so specifically for a text box or anything down here, the checkbox, drop down, radio, you will need to click on this collaboration down here and click recipients can collaborate. Otherwise, only one of them will see the text box and not all of them will. That is just a weird thing that DocuSign has to show privacy between the recipients. So just make sure that if you want them both to see it, then you click on that recipients can collaborate. Otherwise, I can scroll down, and before, whenever I clicked on the document, I couldn't see that they would sign here, but now obviously you can see the signature fields and the date signed fields. On the seller property disclosure, you can see everything highlighted in yellow is what they will need to click on. They can add text here if they need to, check the boxes, all of that. It does not want the agent to do it, which is why you cannot see any of this whenever you're viewing the document. So you can see all of the bubbles are highlighted in yellow, and I will show you from a client's view what this will look like when they are signing it. But once I review where my signatures and initials will go, I am just going to click send. So just to show you what that's going to look like, give me 1 second, pulling up my email. Okay, and now I can see Karley Stevens via DocuSign. Please DocuSign. I did open the email. So you can see this is what the email will look like to your clients. Karley Stevens sent you a document to review and sign. Joe Smith, please DocuSign KW seller disclosure and seller property disclosure. Thank you. That's pretty much what it will look like unless you add more text to that email body. And then you can just click on Review Documents. When they click on Review Documents, they do have to check a little box at the top of the screen that says they agree to use electronic records and signatures. Once you check this box and hit Continue, they can click on Start over here and it will take them to the first signature. They do actually have to click the signature or initial boxes. Whenever they first click the signature or initial box, they do need to adopt the signature, same as dot loop. They can either select the style, draw it, or upload a signature. But they can just do this, and then they can change the style if they want. We'll do this one. And they can click Adopt and Sign. They only have to do that for the first one they click on. And then you can see that it's unoccupied. They can check within all of these boxes. So I'm just going to click Don't Know for everything. And I can type over here if I need to. But again, DocuSign is preventing the agent from doing this. They do want the seller to be doing this. That's why the agent does not have access to it unless they send it to themselves, which I do not recommend. Send it to your sellers. You can let me know in the comments if you think it would be helpful to create a short video, maybe like 2 minutes long, that could give instructions for someone on how to open a DocuSign email and sign the documents. If you think this is easy enough for your clients, then that's totally fine. Or I might be able to find a video that's already been created. Just because I know some people are not tech savvy, this might be a little stressful for them, especially because the seller property disclosure gives so many options. And as you can see, it brought me back up to the middle of the page where I missed an initial. So once it stops scrolling, you can see that there's no more start icon over here, and that's when I can hit finish. It will not let them finish unless they do finish all of the signatures and initials and blanks. I'll show you what happens if they sign a hard copy. Give me 1 second. So once they're finished signing, it's going to ask if they'd like to create a DocuSign account. They can hit no thanks down here at the bottom. They don't need one. And it'll say that you're all done. So then I can close out of this tab, close out of my email, and I am back in DocuSign room. You can see that it still says waiting for others, but all I need to do is refresh the page since I already signed. And now you can see that it says completed. So now it's completed. Now if I go back to documents, I can see that I have double the amount of forms as I had before. You can see the original form has the paper with form underneath, and the signed version has a green check mark on it. So please make sure that you're viewing the signed versions. If you do have something that's signed in person and you are able to scan it, you can actually send an email, and I can show you this too. So you can copy and paste this room ID number into your email subject in order to send documents to this room. So I can show you that. So I'm just going to copy this. Obviously, you don't know which email to send it to, so I can show you that too. So if you go over here to the right-hand side and you go to Manage Profile, what we're doing right now is finding the email address to send it to. So this would be if you get an email signed in person. I mean, sorry, not an email, a document signed in person. That is not what I wanted. I believe it's actually under preferences. We will see. Yes, okay, so it's under preferences, under inbox details. This is the email that you need to send it to so that it goes directly to your room. You can change this email. Save changes. So now I'm sending it to karleystevens@mail.docusign.net. And again, this would be if you are trying to get documents from your computer into DocuSign. This would only be if you need to add more signatures to it, or maybe you need to sign it. If you get a document completely signed in person, where you don't need anything else with it, you can upload it directly to Command, and I'll show you that as well. So sorry if it seems like there's a lot of options. There's a lot of different options and ways to do business. So just keep that in mind. But this is a really cool technique. I showed it to an agent in the office, and she was pretty amazed by it, and she said she would definitely use it. So I want to make sure I show it to you guys too. So I already copied the ID number, but I'll show you again how to find that. So if I go into my email, and again, I'm sending it to that email that I was just looking at. And the email subject needs to be that room ID number. So to find that again, I'm going to go back to rooms. And mine is showing everybody's, which is not fun. Yours should not show all of these. It's only mine because I have admin access. Okay, so again, I copied this ID number up here, and if you forget, if you hover over it, it'll tell you exactly what to do. So I just put that as my email subject. And I don't have to add a body, I just need to send the form. This is a good one because it's not in DocuSign. So this form actually came from an HOA, and so they asked that I get it signed by the time we close. So now that I sent that, that document will appear in not this room. Why? Okay, so it's not here yet. So if I refresh the page, hopefully I sent it to the right place. So to find the email address you're sending it to, click on your name or your little icon in the top right hand corner. It's under Preferences and Inbox Details. Let me try sending it again because I think I sent it to the wrong ID number. Don't mind all of my random emails. Okay, so again, that's Karley Stevens at mail.docusign.net because that's what I edited my email to be. The subject is that ID number for the room, and then I'm going to pull in the document that I want to be there. And hit send. And you can see it's right here. So that's pretty cool. That's really helpful if you are a listing agent and you get a offer in your email. You can just send it right over to your room. If there's any questions about that, please let me know. But again, I will still show you what to do if you get it signed in person and you just need to upload it directly to Command. The only reason I would upload it here is because if it is an offer that you receive from a buyer, you'll then have to add signatures, obviously, because it's a PDF for your sellers to sign the offer for it to be executed. Go ahead.
In this room, do you have a separate room for a contract, you know, when you receive a contract, or is this all in the same documents?
All in the same room.
Okay.
Because it's still for that same listing transaction. Yep, no problem. That's a good question. There are different folders in Command for the different documents, but that's just to keep it separate for compliance. And I'll point that out again. So just to show you how to add signatures to a document that's not an interactive document, so I'll show you how to add a signature to this form here. I am going to go back first and add my seller's email address. So again, all I have to do is click Edit. And then I can see seller 1, his name is here, but let me just add in his email address and save it. So now I'll show you how to add signatures to a form that is a PDF. So this would be if you want to upload your own form, or again, if you are a listing agent and you get a contract that's not sent through DocuSign that your clients need to sign. So we'll just put a PDF here. So it's in my room because I emailed it there. So I'm going to click on Room Docs, and it is the sale application form. Add selected. For recipients in the envelope, so when you do add in a form yourself and it's not an interactive form, you do not see pre-tagged roles. And that's because DocuSign doesn't know where the signatures go because you uploaded this form yourself. If you're using an interactive form, it already knows where those initials and signatures go. But for this one, I'm going to click email address. And then I will add in my seller myself. Any questions about that? I'm not going to add an email subject or anything there. I'm just going to hit next. And this is where we will add in the signature that we need. So we can pretend this was already filled out by the buyer. And then I'm going to just add in my seller signatures. So from seller, so let's just put in a text box real quick and add in his name. You can see that it was highlighted yellow before. If I uncheck this required field, it turns white. It doesn't really matter. If it's left checked as a required field, that means that they will have to click on it. Obviously, they don't have to do anything to it, but they will have to click on it for it to count as basically like a signature or initial, same as we were doing before. I'm only going to fill out the name, and then let me add a signature box. So all I do is click on signature, and then click where I want the signature to go. And that's all I'm going to do. So it's just one page. I added the name, I added a signature, and then I can hit send. I'm going to sign this from my phone. I'm not going to open it back up just so it can be signed. So now you can see it says waiting for others. I signed it, so let me refresh the page. And then you'll see that it is maybe. Okay, well, it's not showing completed, but over here it'll show signed. So sale application form, and it has the signed check mark. DocuSign's being a little weird today, but it's okay. So now I am going to go back to command. DocuSign opens in a new tab, so you never have to hit this back button. Please do not do that. You'll just be able to close it whenever you're done. So I'm just going to close out of this now. And now I'm back in command. So this is the same page that we were brought to in the beginning. I'm going to go to documents, and let me show you how to upload forms. So again, you can see right now I am under residential. I can go to no placeholders, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. You cannot delete any of these placeholders, and you cannot rearrange them. You can add more forms than what are showing for the placeholders, but I will show you how to do this. So for seller's property disclosure, we have that. So if I click on add a file, I can click on this DocuSign as the source, and it just says select the document for seller's property disclosure or upload a new document. So I'm choosing it from DocuSign. These are all of the forms in that one room that I've been messing with. So I can see, seller property disclosure, and it has signed at the end. You can see that it's showing both versions, but make sure you choose the signed one. So I can do that and hit assign. And you can see it here. So now if I click on it, I can view the document that I just uploaded. This was filled out by the seller, has signatures on it. I can print it or I can download it here, or I can just close it. With these three dots to the right-hand side, I can remove this or print it, but otherwise this is assigned to the seller property disclosure. This form is assigned to this name. So I'm actually going to remove this so I can show you how to use the no placeholders option or add in your own documents. So for that HOA document that's required by the association, but obviously there's not a placeholder for it because it's not a common thing, I just hit add item. I then have to name the document, so it was the sale application, the document type. I'm just going to put other. My additional note, I don't have to add one, but I am going to, required by HOA. And again, I'm selecting that from DocuSign. So sale application signed, and I would hit save. So now it appears at the bottom of all the placeholders. So again, we are still in the placeholders option, residential. But if I scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see sale application. And again, I have almost the same options. So I can click on it to print it or download it. I can click on these three dots and I can edit, remove, or print it. The only reason I have this edit field here is because I actually named it myself. You can see over here it's custom. So I would be able to edit any of the fields that I filled out in the beginning. I can again remove or print the document. I'm going to remove this one so I can show you how to do this without placeholders. And then you can decide which one you prefer. So if I added a document here, I would not be able to switch checklist, but I am going to switch to no placeholders. And you can see there's no documents here, so I only have the option to add item. So again, we will add the sale application. From DocuSign. I'll hit save. Now I need to add the seller's property disclosure. The document type is disclosure. It's coming from DocuSign. And it is this one, KW, oh, sorry, no, it's not. Seller property disclosure signed. And save it. Then I can add my KW disclosure from DocuSign. And I'm choosing KW seller disclosure signed. Now, if I wanted to add a form from my computer, so if you do get something signed in person and you just upload it to your computer, you can just hit add item. We'll say it's the HOA disclosure. You would just leave it on manual and click on drag and drop or browse your files. So when I click in this box, it brings up my computer and I can see here's my HOA disclosure and I uploaded that form. Any questions about how I uploaded a form from my computer? This would be what you would do if you have it signed in person. You do not have to go through DocuSign first. And you would hit save. So you can see, since I'm using the no placeholders checklist, I can only see the forms that I uploaded. And then once you upload all the forms you need to, you would hit submit to Market Center. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to confuse Gina or Janice, but that's what I would do to get it reviewed for compliance. And again, we are under the listing folder right now. Once you have a contract on your listing, you would upload forms in the under contract folder. In the closed folder, you can see that this is where the DA goes. So once Gina creates a DA for you, she will upload it into the closed folder either way, whether there is a placeholder or not. If there's any questions about that, please let me know. If you have any questions or comments for Janice or Gina, you can click on this add comment button. If they have any feedback for you, they will also be using this to send it to you. For example, I was missing the broker synopsis today on my listing paperwork, so I got a message from Janice. You can see at the top it says use an @ symbol to mention an individual and send a notification. So if you do type an @ symbol, you'll be able to tag Janice, Gina, Marina, or if you're on a team, you'll see your Rainmaker or anybody else that you're collaborating with on that deal. So if I'm tagging Janice, this is also really important if you have any active listings in .loop. You can leave the active listing paperwork in .loop, but you'll want to create an opportunity so that you can finish the transaction in Command. So I would just add in a note here that says, hi, my listing paperwork has been approved through .loop. Please see my executed documents here for the contract. And then I would hit add reply. If I needed to ask Gina where my DA is, I could at Gina and say, commission submitted, please review. And this is just a really good way if you're in a hurry or anything like that, maybe you forgot something. That's a really good way to get them to see it because they will actually get a notification up here. The same way that you will if something is returned for you, you'll get a notification here that something was returned. And then you'll see there will be a little message box here. It'll be highlighted in red, whatever was returned, and you'll see Janice's message. Any questions about submitting paperwork for compliance? So once your listing goes under contract or you receive an offer on your listing that's accepted, you'll go to this offers tab here. And if you're a buyer's agent and you are submitting offers, you can go ahead and add them all here. If you receive multiple offers on your listing, you can add them here. You have to add at least one offer because otherwise your commissions tab will not open. So once I add an offer here, then I can submit my commission. So as soon as you have an accepted contract, you can go ahead and do this. So I'm going to hit add new offer. And this information is for Keller Williams. This is not going to affect any of the documents you've submitted so far or sent to your seller. It will have nothing to do with your documents. This is just for Keller Williams data. So you can name it whatever you want. So if you're a buyer's agent and you've submitted more than one offer on different properties, you can name it the property name. If you're a listing agent and you receive multiple offers on your property, you can name it the buyer's name. It's really up to you. I'm just going to leave this as initial offer and hit create offer. There are 4 parts to the offer: offer details, parties, terms, and agent analysis. The version name you can again edit here. The offer date is important to include here, and the closing date is also important to include here. Please make sure that your closing date is as close to accurate as possible, because otherwise, whenever you're in commissions, you will only be able to edit it here. You'll have to come back and edit your offer. You can't edit it inside commissions. So once I fill out those, I'm going to go to parties. The only required information in the parties is the names. You don't have to have an email, phone number, fax number for everyone. So I'm just going to put Mr. Buyer as my buyer. Fill out as much information as you can, but it's not required. And then I'm going to put Mr. Buyer's agent. Your information and your client's information should already be filled out, as you can see over here. And then I will just hit terms. This top line is the only thing required under terms. You can add the rest of the information, but it's not required. So if it's a cash deal, I would add it all under cash. If it's a finance amount, I would add it all under finance. You cannot edit the sales price. You have to enter it into these two fields for it to update. So maybe, yeah, I'm just going to do the whole amount in finance or the whole amount in cash. If you want to split it up, you can, but it's really up to you. The earnest amount, I'll just put that it's 1%. That will automatically calculate. In Florida, we don't have an option fee, so you can always leave that blank. The termination option, this would basically be the inspection period of however many days it would be, and then if there's any seller contributions. Then I can go to agent analysis, and I can enter any pros and cons that I would like. I'll do a short class on your offers and commissions tab so that this isn't too overwhelming, but this is not required. You can add it if you'd like to, and then hit save. And again, one offer must be accepted before you can open your commissions tab. So at this point, you can still see it's grayed out. As soon as I hit accept, my commissions tab becomes available. Any questions about submitting an offer? And again, this isn't going anywhere. This is just for Keller Williams data, but it is required to submit your commission and get paid. You can change the response here. You can also add analysis, send offer, or remove it. You can only remove it if it's not accepted. You can also add a new offer here. Next, I will show you commissions. I'm going to show a very not detailed version of commissions. Let me add in the chat really quick the commissions PDF that I created. These are step-by-step instructions with pictures that I just uploaded in the chat. It is the commissions in command PDF. It will show you how to do a team split. It'll show you how to do a builder bonus, how to pay your transaction coordinator, how to pay your coach, anything that you could possibly need. I created that flyer for it. It's a few pages long, so just scroll to whatever information you need. But a few things to highlight here. It's kind of like a game, I guess, to do your commissions. You just want to get rid of this red label. So it'll tell you what's wrong. So contract date is required to submit. You should see it. I just uploaded it into the chat, Elizabeth. It says commissions in command. It's right above your message. So I do need to add a contract date here. We'll just say it's today. This sales price really is important. It's pulling from the, I believe it's pulling from the details tab. So if your estimated list price or your, for a buyer transaction, it'll say budget instead of estimated list price. You will need to come back here and change it. A DocuSign will eventually be completely integrated with Command, hopefully sooner rather than later, and all of this information will update automatically. This percent here is not important at all. If there is a MLS fee that the agent is charging, and I do want to point this out because a lot of agents confuse it. So this is your total commission amount, so the full 3% or 2% or 2.5%, minus the MLS fee if you're a buyer's agent, and plus the MLS fee if you charged one as a listing agent. So on the MLS, I'll just pick any listing. On the MLS, you can see how they are what your commission will be. So it's 3% minus $250. You do need to indicate that. So if that was my listing and I was charging $250, I would add $250 to this total amount, which is obviously going to change this percentage, but that does not matter. If you are a buyer's agent and you are paying the MLS fee that the listing agent was charging, you will subtract the $250 from this total commission amount. This is completely separate from the market center fee, the $195 or whatever you're charging on your seller or buyer disclosure. So just be sure that you understand that. So since I am the listing agent on this transaction and I apparently was charging $250, I'm going to add $250 here. So that was $52.20 plus $250. So it's saying the total agent commissions do not equal the total commission, which makes sense because I haven't gotten that far. So again, I added the MLS fee here, and you'll see that in the commissions and command PDF. This does not matter anymore. It is only 1 unit. Our contract and close date are updated. Down here, we have our agent breakdown. So any agent on the transaction is going to have their own agent breakdown. So if it's just myself, I'm going to leave this as 1 unit, and I'm going to get the entire commission, which will be $54.70. And I just got that from this number here. Then in the agent breakdown, you can see this is the gross commission. This is how much will be taken out in royalties. This will be taken out in company dollar. My deductions are here, and this will be the total of my check. So for this instance, I need to add a deduction of $195 because that's what the market center is charging me for the transaction. That's that $195 that is on the buyer or seller disclosure. So I click on deduction. The amount is $195, and all of this is very detailed on the PDF I uploaded into the chat. The description is market center fee. If you are paying your transaction coordinator or you are paying a coach, this is the same place it would go. It's also considered a deduction. So it's being paid to KW New Tampa. The address is the office address, which is also in that PDF. The phone number is the office phone number. If you don't know it and can't find it, then you can put in your own phone number. It doesn't matter too much. But this is also on the PDF. Those are the only required fields, and then I would hit add. So now that is showing as a deduction here. If I had a coach, I would do add item again, hit deduction. The name of the deduction would be, are you guys not seeing it? I'm seeing that I sent it, but maybe it's not working. I'll try sending it again. Okay, it says that it was sent successfully, so just let me know if that's not working still. Yep, I'll send it as an email. Just go ahead and put your email in the chat if you would like to receive it, and I will send it to you. And then that will be a step-by-step breakdown on how to do commissions. On a very basic transaction where you are not on a team and you're not in coaching and you aren't paying a TC, you'll only have this market center fee. But again, you can edit or trash it here. You can add more items here. If you are charging more than $195, the rest of it will be a bonus. So you would go up here and choose bonus. If I'm charging $295, I would put the entire amount as the bonus, and then the market center fee would be $195. If that doesn't make sense, please just review the PDF that I'll send. It also tells you how to split it with another agent, so I'm not really going to go over that. You can see the summary over here, and at the end you would just hit submit. If you need to add a note to Gina, add it here. But please make sure that you are asking us as many questions as you have before you hit submit.